Well, all of these things, held together covenantally by their common allegiance to the king and their common faith, began to experience change under the reign of the Bourbons. The Bourbons were a royal family that actually began with Henry IV. Henry IV, who was born into a Catholic family, was actually brought up as a Protestant and initially championed the ideas of the Reformation. But seeing that the only way he could ever actually become king and really consolidate power, but he saw the only way to actually do that was to become a Catholic, and so he converted. He famously said, "Paris is worth a mass." In other words, being able to control that great city is worth listening to the Mass in Latin, which is what it was at the time. Still, Henry IV did have incredible tolerance towards the Protestants. He actually granted them religious freedom so they could freely worship as they believed was correct in his famous Edict of Nantes in the year 1598. However, his grandson, Louis XIV, had very different ideas. In fact, Louis XIV is famous for saying, "The state is myself." And he sought to consolidate all the power of all those parliaments, of all those regions of France, of all of those townships into a single man, himself. And he saw himself as an absolute ruler, somebody who had been appointed by God to rule. He had that divine right of kings that was so common in characters such as James I of England or his son Charles I. It was, for example, Louis XIV, who saw himself as being free from any type of constitution, being free from any type of parliament, being free from any type of law. It was Rex Lex. The king is the law, or the king is above the law. It was also Louis XIV who was famous for building the great palace of Versailles. It was an incredible structure that had over 700,000 square feet and this ornate Baroque-style palace that showed the sheer exorbitance and wealth of the French king. R.L. Palmer says that it had polished mirrors, gleaming chandeliers, magnificent tapestries that opened onto a formal park with fountains and a shaded walks. In fact, many people still visit the Palace of Versailles simply because it is such an astounding and beautiful monument in the history of France.